Good morning, everyone. So I did not do the video first thing this morning just because I got a little bit off to a late start, but I'm at work right now. There's the office behind me. Just finished up with some patients, finished up notes, so I figured I'm going to hop on and do this real quick. So this is episode 3 of Block Talk. So if you saw my post last night, it's all about getting faster. And I said, get faster by getting high. But let me put a disclaimer out there. I'm not saying go out and do things that are going to make you high, like drugs. I do not do drugs. Don't do drugs. Don't do drugs. Don't do drugs. So don't YouTube, Facebook, whoever sees this, don't flag me. I'm saying don't do drugs. But the story I shared where I got beat by a girl. So first of all, let me just say, if a girl is faster than me, I have no qualms with that. Kudos to you. And this particular girl, she was one of my coworkers, and I look up to her quite a bit because she is a rock star of a parent, a rock star runner, a rock star mom. She is awesome. And I work for her family, and I love her family. But this particular race, was pretty excited to run it. Got to the start. It's a trail race, so I got to the starting line and took off like I normally do. So this particular race has it's probably maybe between half a mile and 3/4 of a mile. That's just like straight up. This is out west in Utah. That's just straight up rocky trail, and it's one of those climbs where you can't really run up it. It's kind of like a run hike, power hike sort of thing. I don't know. So she and I are first and second. We get to the top, and we hit this flatland, and I speed off and gap her pretty bad. So then we get to the downhill portion, and next thing I know, she is right on my tail and just goes flying by me, and it was like I was standing still. And she ended up winning the race. She beat me by I don't remember how much, like 30 seconds or 15, 30 seconds or so. And yeah, and I decided that day I had to change something with my training. So up to that point, I had done a handful of trail running. I liked running on the road more, but I'd always kind of avoid the hills. I would stay on the road. I like being flat and fast, and I decided, you know what, I am going to I'm going to hit the hills, and I'm going to work really hard on developing that strength that comes from climbing. And so from that day forward, I decided I am never going to let that happen again. I'm going to be so good going up, and I'm going to be so good going down. And that's what I did. So for the next, I don't know how long, however long I was in Utah, that's what my focus was training on hills and training on declines. It's one thing to go uphill and, get your elevation gain, but it's another thing to run downhill and work on that speed and strength. So when you run downhill, the muscles in your legs have to eccentrically contract, meaning they lengthen while they're contracting. And so if you ever run a downhill race or you do some downhill running and your legs are killing you afterwards, that is what's going on. You're not used to the eccentric contractions. Also, when you're running downhill, there's little tiny proteins in your muscles that kind of acts like hinges between the muscle cells. And when you run downhill and you're not trained for it, it just destroys them. It's like kicking a door off a hinge. So that's what I focused on. I focused on doing the hills, going up, going down, and I got really good at running up and down hills. So fast forward to this weekend, Labor Day weekend. I hope you guys all had a great Labor Day. My focus has been to try and get as many hills as I can here in Florida. Being in Florida, I mean, I don't know if you could really see anything behind me, but Florida is pancake flat, at least where I live in Florida. But there are a few little baby hills, and you kind of have to go digging to find them. But my running buddies and I, we found a handful of hills, and that's what we have been working on, is hitting those hills and making sure we're getting the gains from going up and going down. So yeah, this weekend I went to Lake Wales, Florida, or Babson Park with a couple of my running buddies, and we pretty much hit the hills. So in Florida, Central Florida used to be just tons of orange groves. And this particular area is all clay road, like red clay road. And there's a lot of hills up and down, all over the place. It's actually the highest point in the peninsula of Florida, a whopping 360 feet above sea level. Woo! But yeah, so we hit the hills, and Monday we did about 10 miles of hills 10 miles worth of hill climbing, which was fun. And then on Saturday, with a couple other running buddies, We did some hill loops, kind of back through these neighborhoods, around some lakes and through some sinkholes, etc. But that's kind of been my focus because, in my mind, in my opinion, uh, hill training is speed work in disguise. You may not go fast up the hills, but just by being on the hills, you're spending time climbing. You're spending time building strength, building those that endurance. It's kind of like adding weight training and running at the same time. Um, and then plus going downhill, it's like working on the speed component. Um, so yeah, so that's why I said to get faster, get high. Not high with drugs, but high with elevation and high with climbing. So I hope that gives you guys some tips, some advice. Go run some hills. Don't avoid them. You will get faster, I promise, when you hit the hills. So I hope you guys have a great day today. It is Wednesday. Have a great rest of your workday. Stay safe out there. Remember to wash your hands, and we'll see you later this week.